a cardboard cutout that you just move across the screen and, moves off again and it affects the believability of the world, the depth of the world that you've created. But that means that when it comes to characters like Lucifer or the wizard Braxo, you've got to get inside the mind of the character and empathize with him to write his character as though he's really the hero. How difficult is it to get inside the mind of a villain, especially when you're getting inside the mind of really supernatural evil?
I'll tell you, I'm in the middle of writing a supplemental chapter in the last book right now. It's called Pandemonium Rising. So it's an inversion of Empyrean Falling. It's the last book in the series, and there's this chapter, this always happens, where Satan is talking to a prisoner that he's taken, a faithful prisoner. And the faithful prisoner is the first created angel. Not an archangel, but the first created angel. And it's ultimately leading towards like a conversion experience of sorts, where Satan gets convicted for the first time possibly ever, by the first angel preaching to him. But I always feel oily and gross after delving into these characters' psychologies, especially when it's like Mazarel and his rival Umbra Tempest, who are both fallen angels and they hate each other, or Satan and Asmodeus, or one of the other fallen. And man, you have to get into their psychology so you understand what their motivation is and what their flaws are, and what flaws drive them, I guess. So like, what's the critical thing with, Asmodeus, or I always call him Asmodeus, but I'm mispronouncing it. What's the thing that, Asmodeus or Giad Althaziel or Mazarel or Umbra Tempest or any of these characters, who are fictionalized or not, what's their motivation? What is that sin inside of them that motivates them the most, at least in this scene? And dude, sometimes like I just get bummed out. I just gotta go I gotta go outside and just like have a smoke and let the dog out and just go for a walk and just listen to some DC talk and just, I gotta just like decompress
and hope God does a new thing.
That's a deep DC talk poll, by the way. That's pre-Jesus Freak. Good for him.
That is pre-Jesus Freak right there, baby. I'm old school.
But yeah, you know how it is, Derek. You have to get inside of the minds of the characters, and man, sometimes that's a dark place, and Braxo's kind of like that.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, Braxo's kind of like that too. Braxo, the villain of book one, is, you learn in later on in the series that he was a normal kid.
Yeah,
he was going through his own journey with the timepiece at one point.
Yeah,
he was betrayed by another kid, trapped in this particular world, and grew resentful and bitter.
Yeah,
and so his mission in life. Our camera died.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, I can.
We've still got We've got a still photo of you up there, but if you can reboot, that'd be great.
I can. All I need to do is swap out. This is a great edit point, by the way. So,
right.
When you see the tiki mug go up to Jonathan's lips, that's where you cut it.
The leaky one. Yeah.
Let me just switch the battery in the camera.
What's funny though is that it's that resentment. I mean, the resentment is the same thing that resentment's the same thing that got Lucifer, I think, in a lot of ways. And Nick sort of did a magician's nephew with that backstory. Am I right, Nick?
A little bit.
Yeah, it came out.
Because I did the Broken Legs of War. This one's the backstory of Braxo.
Yeah.
When he's a kid, he goes on that adventure where things go bad for him.
It's a good thing we're not doing this live, Derek.
So like a wizard equivalent of Gollum.
Sorry.
A wizard equivalent of Gollum. Yeah, in a lot of ways. There's pain, isolation. Pain creates isolation. Isolation opens you up to a ton of resentment, because there's nothing there to,
I'm sorry.
There's nothing there to like really, I got a stripper clip of 38 Special. Will that help? We could shoot the camera.
Yeah.
Sure. But yeah, that resentment, man, it creeps in because there's nothing there to combat the negativity.
One of the things that Sharon I thought was really insightful, and we talked with Timothy Alberino last year about his book Birthright, which is about the rebellion between the angelic realm and God. Those of the angelic realm that have fallen, is the parable of the prodigal son.
Yeah.
We are the prodigal son, the older brother who's resentful that they're going to throw a party that he's come back covered with pig mess. Mm-hmm. are the loyal, faithful angels. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. In fact, that is a plot point of Pandemonium Rising. And and it's the whole. In fact, it's funny you mention that because there are 2 or 3 chapters where that first angel and Satan are conversing. They're having a dialectic, and the last chapter that they are together is actually called Prodigal, and it's that very same thing of, because in Empyrean Falling, the whole crux of what broke Lucifer's back mentally was the creation of humanity. Now you can theologically argue when in the timeline the fall happened. For me, for the sake of writing and telling a good story, I decided that the angels had helped God create Earth. They created Eden, and then Lucifer created the garden, and he was thinking that this would draw their father back because they had been separated from him. Mm-hmm. And instead of drawing father back, what Father and the Son did, who's Christ before he's named Christ for Jesus, is they created another version of themselves. And Lucifer was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? We're being replaced. We're being absolutely replaced. And then, so he goes on his journey, but then it becomes even of rebellion, and thinking the angels are going to get cast out. We have to protect ourselves, but then it develops more into this prodigal thing of we were here first. And even the faithful, we've done everything right. We've fought and struggled. And you're just going to let these humans in, these humans who rejected you and killed you, and why, and then they're going to judge us in the end, it's got to be a tough.
And when you view it from that perspective, from the perspective of the angels who are much older, much wiser than we are, and they can do all kinds of stuff that we can't do.
Yeah. And battle hardened and have been fighting, losing friends in the war for souls
that most of us don't even acknowledge.
Yeah.
It's why are we fighting for these monkeys?
Right.
It's like oh gosh, what's the movie Prophecy with Christopher Walken?
Viggo Mortensen.
Yes.
Yeah, when he plays Lucifer
Right. And Christopher Walken plays a very disgruntled Gabriel. Lousy theology, but again, the reason that we are talking with the Goss brothers today and why we encourage other Christian fiction authors, we're Brian Godawa, for one, with his Chronicles of the Nephilim, Chronicles of the Apocalypse, Chronicles of the Watchers, stuff like that. We need more of that to show from a Christian perspective these values of love and honor and self-sacrifice and truth and beauty, because we're living in a world that is rejecting the notion that those things even exist. I mean, in a postmodern world, there is no truth, there is no beauty, and that's why we see all of this ugliness and hatred around us.
Yeah, and it's disgusting. I mean, when you look at society that has rejected God, it is a carnival of grotesqueries. It's just from stem to stern. It is absolutely abhorrent, and you can have God and still be messed up. You can be a Christian and still be disgusting, but that's almost like a flip of a coin, depending on your psychology and where your faith is. But almost 100% that if you do not have the Lord in your life, it's not pretty. It's really bad. And so
final question for each of you fellows, because we could keep going. This 45 minutes or so has gone by very, very quickly, but in the interest of keeping these programs to a manageable length for people with busy schedules, I try to leave the audience wanting more rather than saying, boy, I wish he'd done less. I want each of you to just address this real quick. What do you hope readers take away from your writing?
You want to think about that and let me go first?
Yeah, if you're prime, let me. Well, no, I'll tell you what I hope readers take away. I hope they take away the fact that it's okay. It's okay to celebrate your values as a Christian.
Oh yeah.
It's okay to not have to fit in everybody's theological box, but you value the right things.
Yeah.
Because that's before the world was lit on fire, over the past few years. We had a lot of different theologies.
Yeah.
But we all shared some very core values. Yeah. We all had for the most part, people who believed in God. I mean, we had a worldview that we could share. We knew that these things were important. So what was frustrating then is that, to get a story published out there, you had to meet a very specific set of criteria when it comes to your theology in order for publishers to get it out there. Yeah. I want people to take away the fact that you can be creative, you can write and enjoy reading all of these fantasy worlds that don't fit that specific theological criteria, but still have the values that make a story great, and you can feel safe sharing with other people.
Yeah,
that's what I really want.
Some validation, huh?
Yeah. I want parents to feel like this is something that's safe for my kid, and it's going to take them on an imaginative journey.
Yeah, and Christian validation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Replace fear with faith. And faith in the Lord, faith in the truth and sovereignty of Jesus Christ, and every decision that every character makes in the story that is detrimental is a short-sighted, fear-based decision. It is a lacking of faith every single time. Even the good guys. In fact, it turns out really bad for some of the good guys because they get caught up in this terrestrial, corporeal fear, this fear, this fleshy fear, and every time miracles happen and amazing things happen and victories are achieved, it's from, in a Christian sense, these angelic characters letting go and letting God. There are, and they fight. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's blood and sweat and tears and spit and just gnashing of teeth, and it gets pretty messy sometimes, a lot of times. But these characters, they always, much like Nick is talking about, they try to do the right thing. No matter the consequences, they try to march up to the wall with their armor bearer. It literally happens towards the end of Empyrean Falling with Michael. It's just it's hopeless, But it's hopeless from a short-sighted terrestrial perspective. Even though these angels are not quote unquote given unto death in the cosmology of Empyrean Falling, they can still be slain, sort of, in the sense that they can be killed in battle, and then the fallen go to hell, the faithful go to heaven, or they go to the Empyrean. But still, there is that fear that they wrestle with, I don't want to leave my friend, I don't want to leave my brother in arms, and they deal with that a lot, and sometimes they make terrible mistakes because of it, and it costs the kingdom a lot. But every time anything good happens, man, it's because they just had faith that there's a plan and that there's one God. I'm not that God. That God is that God,
Yeah.
And he's got a plan, and I'm just going to do what I think the Holy Spirit is telling me to do and let the chips fall where they may.
There you go.
That's the challenge as a Christian writer, isn't it? To try to portray God fulfilling his will through imperfect characters.
Oh yeah. Because what does God look like? Gonna once again, make a dorky DC Talk reference, but love is a verb. And so, I know. Yeah. Everybody's like, all right, I'm going to 1-star every one of